my parts have arrived, so I'm going to put the wheel cylinder back together and put this brake back together. One of the things you want to make sure you absolutely never do in brake, and I've said this before, is you don't want to get anything with a trace of mineral oil on it. And even things so-called brake clean aren't necessarily good for rubber and plastic parts. So I'm going to clean the wheel cylinder out. I already did it once, but I'm going to do a final with some alcohol. Just a rag full of alcohol that I'm going to run through there. And then I'm going to follow it with some brake fluid. The best lubricant you can use and cleaner in the end typically is brake fluid. But alcohol normally isn't a problem either, but as long as it's pure alcohol and doesn't have any additives in it. But it comes out, my rag's pretty clean paper towel. Got another one going here. And I'm going to repeat that this is about the third time I've done this, but I want to make sure it's clean. And I want to make sure that I don't just make a mess down here and get a bunch of it in my axle seal, or then I probably will have a leak in an axle seal. So just lube up the paper towel a little bit here. Okay, so that one sits there. Then I have wheel cylinder kit. These pistons on this design look like that, and the pistons don't come in the kit, so I've had to clean those up. Crocus cloth, cleaned them with brake fluid and alcohol. Now the cup seals, you got to make sure the cup faces inward. You want to be gentle with them so you don't tear them or nick them. I've got a bottle of fresh brake fluid here that I'm just going to pour over them. You want to make sure that cup direction goes inward. Scooch that in. Same thing here with the other one. If you put the cup in backwards, they won't work, so you gotta make sure the cup direction is in. Alright, well, let's tuck these guys in. Push those guys on. That looks pretty good. Okay. And brake shoes. So kind of short and long. Short one goes in the front, primary shoe, and we got to put the parking brake lever back on. Well, since I'm done with alcohol and brake fluid for a few minutes, I'm going to switch gloves. I'm trying to keep from cross-contaminating things, so I've got a pair that is just being used to work on the hydraulic parts, and a pair of gloves that are more, have gotten into other parts of the brakes where there's a little bit of grease and other kind of junk.
Okay, so this guy needs parking brake lever pinned on. This little E-clip in here. That guy's about halfway on. There, I got it in. What about the adjuster?
Parking brake lever and spring. That has to go in. Looks like it's seated there. It looks like the spring is seated there.
This adjuster lever in there. Okay. Oh, come on. There it goes. Just gotta get it through the hole. Okay. Yeah, I know everything probably just came apart, but I'm trying to get the slack so that I can put this hold down pin on. Alright, one down. That's still in place, that's still in place. Parking brake lever's out, but we'll fix that. Got it back.
Parking brake lever's in place, spring is in place.
Back comes through. Push this down again. These little devils are the toughest thing.
And sometimes you can get them with a needle nose pliers, and sometimes the springs go all over the place and you can't. I've done them both ways. Sometimes you just got to push them brute force. But you got to make sure the slot is lined up with the pin, and then you want to go 90 degrees once you get it in there. Holding the pin in from the back. I gotta switch to some gloves that have a different grip to them. This is just not working. All right, let's try this again. Ouch. I think I got it. I had to get rid of those rubber gloves and go to something with some beef to it. I just pushed it and turned it. There it went. We can pull this guy out, back up into position. Parking brake lever is still where it belongs. Adjuster's where it belongs. That plate fell off. Retainer plate fell off. So we'll put that back on. We'll stick this one on. Spring came out. There it goes. Well, I couldn't do it the first time. Okay. And then this adjusting plate, guide plate, fell out of position again. So push that in, push that in. We'll get it in position in a minute. Return spring in. Get this return spring in. Oop, wrong hole. Gotta get it down here. There we go. Very good. All right. Now, that's in, parking brake link is in. All the springs are in place. Looking pretty good. All right, so let's just double check where I'm at here. So, spring is in place, upper plate is in place. Left hand return spring's in place, hooked to the link. That spring's there with the retainer. Adjuster, everything looks pretty darn good. So the next thing will be to get the drums back on, and once I get the drums back on, we'll bleed it. I'll adjust the self adjusters till the drums have a light drag on them. And then of course I got to put the bleeder screw back in, still on the floor. But then I'll start bleeding it and we'll get her back together. Just a couple more comments. I did repeat this process over on the left-hand brake. Also, a couple things you didn't see. I did disassemble the adjuster screw and clean it up and lightly grease it. I also applied a little bit of grease to the backing plate pads where the shoes rub. And finally, on the drums are in very good shape. I didn't need to have them turned. My practice is when they're nice and good shape is to get some moderate abrasive like an emery cloth, and just put a pattern on the steel or on the cast iron portion. They're aluminum drums, but they look like cast iron liner. Uh, and just put a pattern on them so that the new shoes have something to bite against when they burnish and break in. I didn't show everything on video because I was running short of time and daylight, and even though I'm working in a garage, I wanted to get the car out on the road before dark and get the brakes adjusted in and get a test run on it. So I did go through and bled the system. As I say, I have it on the road. The brakes are about probably 80–90% adjusted. In order to make the self-adjusters work, you need to back up and brake and then go forward and brake and work the adjuster mechanisms. But the pedals come up and seems pretty good, so I've been out just burnishing them in a little bit, making some moderate stops to get the linings broken in.